There's a reason your attention slowed down just now. Nothing dramatic happened, no warning, no sign from the outside, just a quiet pause inside you. That pause isn't distraction, it's recognition. You're starting to notice how certain things don't pull you the way they used to. Conversations feel lighter or heavier much faster than before. Choices reveal themselves sooner, and situations that once confused you now feel strangely obvious. This isn't because life became simpler, it's because you became clearer. You're no longer living in reaction mode, waiting for the next push or problem to define your direction. You're sensing your own alignment before things even unfold, and that changes everything. You don't rush answers anymore. You don't chase closure. You don't force meaning where none exists. Instead, you observe. You feel. You let patterns show themselves. That's not indecision. That's maturity. You've reached a stage where silence teaches more than noise ever did, where waiting doesn't feel empty, it feels intentional, where trust isn't blind, it's informed. What's happening now isn't a breakdown, it's a recalibration. Your nervous system is learning safety, your mind is learning patience, your intuition is learning to lead without shouting. And because of that, your life is beginning to reorganize itself, not around fear, not around urgency, but around clarity. You may not be able to explain this shift to anyone yet. That's okay. Some changes aren't meant to be announced. They're meant to be lived. This is only the beginning. As this recalibration continues, you'll notice something subtle but important. You're not trying to fix yourself anymore. There's less self-criticism running in the background, less pressure to constantly improve, explain, or justify where you are. You start allowing moments to be incomplete, conversations without conclusions, plans without guarantees, feelings without labels. And surprisingly, that doesn't create chaos, it creates space. In that space, your body begins to respond differently. You breathe deeper without thinking about it. Your shoulders drop on their own. Your thoughts don't race as hard to be understood. This is what happens when you stop treating every moment like a test. You begin to recognize when something is genuinely aligned, not because it excites you, but because it doesn't drain you. You're learning the difference between attraction and compatibility, between intensity and stability, between urgency and truth. And with that awareness, your boundaries shift naturally, not from anger, not from fear, but from self-respect. You say less, but you mean more. You listen longer, but tolerate less. You choose presence over performance. What once felt like hesitation is now discernment. What once felt like distance is now clarity. You're not pulling away from life, you're stepping into it with intention. This phase isn't loud. It won't announce itself with sudden miracles or dramatic turns. It works quietly, rearranging your priorities, softening old reflexes, and teaching you how to stay grounded even when uncertainty remains. And something else begins to happen. You stop needing proof to trust what you already know. This shift is still unfolding. There's more ahead. As this steadiness settles in, you may start to notice a quiet confidence replacing old doubt. Not the kind that needs to be seen or validated, the kind that simply exists. You no longer feel the urge to rush explanations. You don't scramble to be understood by everyone. You trust that what's meant to stay will recognize you without effort. This changes how you move through situations. You pause before responding. You observe tone, timing, and energy. You let people reveal themselves instead of filling in the gaps for them. That awareness protects you. You're not guessing anymore.
You're reading the room clearly. And because of that, you stop overextending yourself. Old patterns begin to loosen. The need to rescue, the habit of overgiving, the reflex to take responsibility for what was never yours to carry. You're learning that peace isn't passive, it's chosen again and again. Even when something feels uncertain, you don't panic, you sit with it, you allow it to unfold. And here's the quiet shift most people miss. You're no longer afraid of outgrowing places, people, or versions of yourself. Not because you've hardened, but because you've softened in the right places. You understand now that alignment doesn't demand perfection. It asks for honesty, with yourself first. So you start asking better questions, not why something happened, but what it's teaching you about your direction. This isn't the end of the process, it's the deepening of it. And as it continues, you'll notice life responding with the same calm you've cultivated inside. There's more forming beneath the surface.
And this is where everything begins to settle into place. Not all at once, not in a way that demands celebration or announcement, but in a way that feels right in your body before it ever makes sense in your mind. You realize something important here. You're no longer searching for permission to be where you are. There's a quiet acceptance growing inside you. Not resignation, not settling. Acceptance of your timing, your pace, your unfolding. You stop measuring yourself against versions of life that were never meant for you. You stop replaying old decisions as if they were mistakes instead of steps. You understand now that every phase had a purpose, even the ones that felt like detours, especially those. This is where self-trust becomes real. You don't need constant reassurance anymore. You don't need guarantees before taking a step. You don't need everything to feel certain in order to move forward. You move because you feel grounded, because your inner compass is steady, because you know how to pause when something feels off and how to proceed when it feels aligned. That changes the way life meets you. Challenges still appear, but they don't destabilize you. They inform you. They clarify what matters and what doesn't. You don't collapse under pressure anymore. You adjust. You don't abandon yourself to keep things going. You choose yourself and what's meant to grow with you. There's a strength in that. Not sharp, not defensive, but durable. You begin to see how much energy you used to spend bracing for impact, for disappointment, for loss, for misunderstanding. Now that energy returns to you. You use it to create, to rest, to choose better, to be present without tension. And here's the part that matters most. You stop needing life to look a certain way to feel safe inside it. Safety comes from knowing you can respond to whatever comes next without losing yourself again. That's the real shift. You didn't become distant, you became discerning. You didn't lose your softness, you protected it. You didn't slow down, you learned direction. From here on, what enters your life will meet a version of you that is awake, grounded, and honest. What leaves will do so without pulling pieces of you with it. And what stays will stay because it aligns, not because you forced it. You're not late, you're not behind, you're not missing anything. You arrived here exactly when you were meant to, as someone who can hold what's coming without shrinking, over-explaining, or abandoning yourself. This phase doesn't demand urgency, it invites presence. And from this place, the next chapter doesn't need to be chased. It will recognize you. And that's enough.